Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Larry McIntosh, and I'll be your host for the next hour, and every Saturday morning from 8 to 9. Thank you for tuning in. Peak of the Market is on Twitter. Please follow us at Peak of the Market for recipes and Food and Friends guest updates. We have over 210,000 Twitter followers, and we'd love to have you follow us too. Again, we're at Peak of the Market, or you can follow me at Larry McIntosh. My guest this morning is Fred Penner, Juno Award winner, singer, and songwriter. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, Larry.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, in spite of the insanity. I've been traveling a lot the last while, so I finally got my feet back on prairie soil for the next 2 weeks.
I was looking at your tour schedule, and you've gone coast to coast a couple times, it seems, in the last few months.
And it shows no signs of stopping. Over the next 2 months until the end of the summer, I'll be in Newfoundland for a couple of festivals in St. John's and Marystown, and I'll be in Bella Coola on the BC coast for a festival. So it seems to, well, the phone's still ringing, Larry, and I'm still answering, apparently.
So how long have you been touring?
This is my 43rd year of being on the road. I started in 1972, was the turning point of my life. I'd finished my university world. I had a BA in economics, and I didn't want to be an economist, clearly. And by odd coincidence, my younger sister, who was a Down syndrome child, she passed away in the early 70s, and my dad died a year later. And I'd really gone through university to fulfill his wish because he had never been able to do that in his life. So here I was at the crossroads with mortality upon me, and I thought, well, what am I going to do with my existence? And I thought, well, let's look at the things that I enjoy. Music was at the top of the list, and was that your phone? Was that my phone?
I think that might. Who's calling you Saturday morning? Come on, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, so I followed my bliss, and I decided that I would try and make a career as a performer. And you may appreciate this one. My first paid gig was at the Balmoral Hotel on the corner of Osborne, Balmoral, and Memorial Boulevard, that area.
Okay.
In the Can Lounge.
Oh.
For 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Fry Sat for $25 a night. Fred Penner in the Can Lounge, and I did my Gordon Lightfoot and Joni Mitchell and Cat Stevens tunes, the '60s stuff. So that was my beginning.
That was prior to doing the children's albums.
Long prior to that, yeah. They were just exploring, the world of performing. That this is what could I in fact make a living doing that? They paid me $75, Larry. I was a king. And I've never looked back, really.
So economist to entertainer, you took a bit of a road, went a different direction. 43 years later,
a small turn. 43 years later, and it shows, as I said, no signs of stopping.
Any regrets for taking a different road?
Never. It was interesting. The Sun is doing the Winnipeg Sun is doing a piece on Neil Rempel, the artistic director of the Winnipeg Children's Festival, and myself this week, and part of it is a 20-question thing.
Oh, yeah.
What do you have for breakfast? Who would you like to have dinner with? All the standard kinds of things. And one of the questions is, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing, or what would you be?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought for a bit, and the answer was dead. I think if I hadn't found this path, I'd probably be an ex-penner right now.
43 years of traveling, though. That's a lot of traveling. Do you get sick of the hotel rooms and the meals?
Larry, I'm a professional. I know exactly how to get through the lines. I've got my Nexus card.
Yes.
It's a very important thing.
Absolutely.
I've learned after this amount of time how to do that, how to be on the road without stress.
And that's got to be. I don't travel anywhere near what you do, and I have my Nexus card too, and I know a few of the tricks, but it's different. It's not your own bed. It's even the nicest hotels. It's just it's different.
Completely. And I think if I'd going back in the beginning of the career, it was sort of fun and in some pretty seedy hotels with the bands that I was playing with. It's gotten to a point now. I stay in nice hotels. I take care of myself. I eat well. I connect with lots of friends who have moved away from the city. So I've got this connectivity with people I've known for years, and if I wasn't traveling, I wouldn't see these friends again. So
Do you have a favorite town outside of Manitoba when you think about all your traveling?
no.
Oh, come on.
Well, no, really. I mean, they all have a charm.
Yeah.
Their own, what the answer is, what's your favorite place to be right here, right now? And often it's very much like that. I'm becoming more of a Zen guy as time goes by, and I try and bring my energy to where I am at this particular moment. But boy, there's some. Oh, one place we were just this summer in March, we were up in Bonavista, Newfoundland.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd not been up there before, and it's spectacular. It's where John Cabot landed.
Oh, yes.
In 1608. Go back to your high school or your elementary or your junior high school Canadian history books. John Cabot landed at Bonavista, and that part of the world is it's raw and vibrant, and the ocean is pouring. It's really, really an amazing part of the world, and I hadn't been there before, so that's fresh in my brain.
And Newfoundland is a beautiful, beautiful place. I've only been there a couple times, but it's fabulous. As much of Canada is. You're fortunate to see a lot of Canada in your travels.
That's the most delightful part of my journey is I've been, as you said, coast to coast to coast, and I wish that on everybody in Canada, because we really should have an appreciation of this amazing country that we're in.
We're speaking with Fred Penner, and we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. I hope you've had a chance to see Peak of the Market's Sesame Street potato bags featuring 9 different Sesame Street characters. Along with the characters, you'll still see the Peak of the Market logo, so you're guaranteed it is grown right here in Manitoba. We are very pleased to partner with Sesame Street on the Eat Brighter program. This program is all about encouraging children and adults to eat more fruits and vegetables. We're back with Fred Penner, Juno Award winner, singer and songwriter. So back in the day, when Sesame Street started back a lot of years ago, it was big in the States. You were huge in Canada with your show as well, right?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. As the post-war generation, the boomers were bringing more children into this world, the boomers being the largest demographic that had been part of society for a long, long time. And they were demanding quality entertainment for their children. Everything from Robert Munch,
right?
Oh golly, Raffi, Sharon Bram, myself. We were all part of trying to fill that void of children's entertainment back then. For Canada, it was possible to establish a national presence as an individual or a small group. So we were traveling back and forth over the late 70s, early 80s, and becoming, really well known for quality entertainment for the families. To do that in the States was nearly impossible because it's 10 times the population. There were like 30 million in Canada, 300 million there. So to have something big enough to deal with the United States market, they needed to establish a juggernaut like Sesame Street to deal with that. But it was the same energy that caused Sesame Street to grow there as caused the children's entertainers to grow in Canada.
And you had a TV show, right?
Yes, I did. I was Mr. Lucky on that one. I'd been touring. I connected with Raffi with my first record, The Cat Came Back. His company took over distribution of that. We did 3 more albums with Raffi's company, Troubadour Records. And then in 1985, I got a phone call from Dodie Robb, who was the head of children's television in that time. And she said, "Hi, Fred, this is Dodie Robb. We've been following your progress across the country, festivals, etc. We really like what you're doing. Would you like to do a TV show?" And I said, I beg your pardon, could you clean out the ears? Really? I babbled for a while. What's my path now? She says, well, think about it. If you had your druthers, if you could do anything you wanted on television, what would you do? And I thought, are you kidding? Okay, well, let me think about that. So I went back to my childhood and I thought about things that were important to me. And one of the first things that came to mind was the quiet spaces I had when I was growing up. Whether it was in the backyard, whether it was in a corner of my room, One of my favorite places was under our old upright piano. Just sort of sitting in the corner, hugging the support post and watching TV from there. But I remember that being a cozy little place for me to be. And I thought, if I'm going to do a TV series, it's not just come on in. It's got to be a journey, because life, and it became very philosophical, because life is a journey, because you have to travel through your path of life. To get to Fred Penner's place, you had to travel across a field, over a fence, around a tree, balance on a rock. All the different things that would finally lead you to the hollow log. And then it was crawl into the hollow log, and then miraculously change clothing and come into the Fred Penner's place on the other side. And it worked really, really well. The audience identified with the security of the place through the hollow log, and I still receive almost daily comments about how they missed the show and wish it was back on the air. So to your listeners, write a letter, send something to CBC Kids, say bring Fred Penner back on TBC, Fred Penner's place. Anyway,
you must have been on a lot of years, because I think I read close to 900 episodes.
Over 900.
Over 900. Wow.
13 years from 1985 to 1997.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a beautiful run. It never got into syndication. They never aired it again after pulling it off the air in 97, which is unfortunate. So I'm really hoping that as difficult as CBC is now, the challenges they're going through, I hope they perhaps see a value in this, because the career seems to be rising for me even at this point after 43 years. Maybe that's why, because they've seen a real level of commitment to this. So who knows? They might be able to drag it back on air, or I'll start putting things on YouTube.
You could do YouTube now. That's true.
I think I might do that.
So you miss it?
I'd still be doing it if it wasn't happening, because it was a great creative opportunity for me. I was writing material daily for the shows. So I really got into that path of understanding how to create, of learning to make myself vulnerable, because that's part of the creative process. You have to be vulnerable to understand the path, the lyric and the music that you're trying to combine. And if there's that open flowing concept, then it gets better. Anyway, so I got pretty good at creating new songs.
We're speaking with Fred Penner, and we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. I'm Larry McIntosh. Today's recipe at peakmarket.com and in the Winnipeg Free Press is feta salad. Feta salad is what I'm trying to say. This recipe sounds very good, with some ingredients being lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes, and onions. So feta salad is today's recipe of the day in the Winnipeg Free Press and at peakmarket.com. And both the Free Press and our website have a new recipe every day, 7 days a week, so please check them out. Speaking of vegetables, if you're going to be involved in a school or a daycare fundraiser this fall, I hope you register for the Farm to School Healthy Choice Veggie Fundraiser. And this fundraiser is open to all Manitoba schools and licensed daycares anywhere in Manitoba. Basically, the fundraiser works like this. Students sell bundles of Manitoba-grown vegetables to raise money for their school or daycare. Bundle A sells for $10 and has carrots, cooking onions, and red potatoes. Bundle B has larger packs of carrots, red potatoes, and cooking onions, as well as green cabbage and parsnips, and sells for $20. And each bundle comes with a reusable bag that is great for grocery shopping. The outstanding thing about this fundraiser is that the school or daycare keeps half the selling price, a 50% profit, which is great for any fundraiser. Last year, this fundraiser raised $411,000 for Manitoba schools and daycares. That's schools and daycares kept $411,000. And this fundraiser runs from September to December. Again, it's open to schools and daycares anywhere in Manitoba, as Peak of the Market growers will send the vegetables by train, by truck, or by plane to any community in our province. If you're interested in getting information, visit their website at farmtoschool.ca or through our website at peakmarket.com. We'll be right back with Fred Penner, singer and songwriter, after we take this break. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. Food and Friends Radio is on TV. Each radio show is filmed and will be posted on Mytoba.ca later today. So if you want to see the TV version of this or previous radio shows, please visit Mytoba.ca. You can also listen to an audio podcast of Food and Friends at SoundCloud.com and at the iTunes Store. Just go to SoundCloud.com, Mytoba.ca, or the iTunes Store and do a search for Food and Friends with Larry. We're back with Fred Penner, a Juno Award winner, singer, and songwriter. So you're a 3-time Juno Award winner. What's that like?
Am. It's what's that like? Well, I mean, you don't do any of this for accolade. When I received the awards, I was surprised. I was delighted. After you do something for a long enough period of time, and I think people and organizations see you as truly being committed to your craft. They want you to succeed. They want to give you accolade. They want to give you support for your path. So the Junos are wonderful, but the things that have had more value in a way to me. I mean, the Order of Canada, the Order of Manitoba, being involved with the Down Syndrome Society, being involved with UNESCO and UNICEF over the years. About 10 years ago, I worked with World Vision, and they sent me to Zambia, and we did a program called What a Day that was encouraging child sponsorship through
Right.
World Vision, and that journey was incredible. In fact, I just came back last weekend from Vancouver. They had a special event for World Vision, again, talking with sponsors and people and just encouraging them to spread the word about the value of World Vision. So I've had that opportunity to take any kind of notoriety that I've gained into other spectrums across the country, and that's when you really start to feel like you're maybe accomplishing something, when people feel that you can be a voice for their focus.
And getting the Order of Manitoba, the Order of Canada, and all, and being spokespersons for those great organizations, it's got to make you so proud. I mean,
Well, proud's an understatement, again, because when I began, in 1972, I had no idea where it was going to go. I've never really known where it would go, because nobody told me that this was a possibility for me. I had been involved in music from elementary school all the way through high school, university, and beyond, but nobody ever said, "You're really good at playing guitar. You've got a really lovely voice. Make that a career. Why don't you go to music school? Why don't you learn something more?" And nobody ever said that. So I'm just playing this by ear, and I still am, more or less. Just I've gotten much better at it along the way. So yes, because I was never given that direct encouragement, I've had to rely on my own impetus to try things out. And fortunately, I've had enough either foolishness or self-confidence, one side or the other, to keep trying these things and to step forward and trust that I could perhaps accomplish a path that I hadn't conceived of before. And fortunately, they've all seemed to have worked quite well. And now after 4 decades, the foundation is seriously established. So I can go from keynote address to early childhood conferences to Master of Ceremonies for the United Way campaign a couple of weeks ago in Saskatoon, to playing soft seat theaters for 1,000 people, to doing festivals from coast. I've got the best life in the world, Larry.
and what makes you nervous? Any of those things make you nervous?
Things that I haven't done before. I mean, performing in just about any venue, I do not feel nervous. Doing something completely different, like a Master of Ceremonies thing, was just a little bit trying, because it was introducing people. It was trying to be a little bit spontaneous. You're not just reading it off the page,
Right.
but taking a concept and rolling with it a bit, which I'm pretty spontaneous, so I was getting good at that. But those things, nervous, I'm not sure if that's the word anymore, but it puts my sensors on high alert, so I really pay attention.
Yeah, because when you're doing an MC event or a keynote speak, sometimes those things aren't in your control the way it would be in a concert, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. Yeah, the concerts are, I have a range of material that I can draw upon at a blink, at a moment's notice, and mostly my traveling companion, Paul O'Neill, who plays with me. he can follow any change that I make. If I suddenly go to this song, I'll give him just a one-word cue is enough for him to know that he has to change his guitar setting to go there. So we make a really good sound, and we create some beautiful music. But being spontaneous in a live setting is very important to me, because then you can interact with the audience on a very positive way.
And you must interact with the audience on a regular basis. Do you feed off the audience? Is that the right word? Or
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah?
No, that's a good word. It's like, I mean, any comedian when he's on stage, he'll talk to people and say, "Where are you from?" And then all of a sudden you've got all these jokes and concepts going that direction. And in the course of a show, I'm watching the audience and I'm seeing things happening, and I'll make a comment about that. Oh, that's a beautiful bear you've got there, a stuffed animal,
Right.
So we'll make comments about that, and I'll go back to that. And if there's a child who's upset, who's crying, I'll get that child's name. Say, what's that little baby's name? That's Larry. Larry, over here. And then I'll wave at that child, and suddenly the child does not feel anonymous anymore, that there is a connection. And that's often why the child is crying, because they're overwhelmed by the size. So as soon as you name the child, they have an identity, you can connect to it, and then over the course of the show, I'll go back, Larry, I'm still here, how are you doing? Great. So we just play that kind of energy with an entire audience.
We'll be right back with Fred Penner. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. We're back with Fred Penner, who brought his guitar. Now, Fred's appearing at the Winnipeg International Children's Festival this weekend, and he's on stage again on Sunday at 1:30.
Exactly.
But because you brought your guitar, can you do a little song for us?
I can indeed. Oddly enough, the fellow who wrote this song, his name is Bob King, and Bob King wrote Sandwiches.
Right.
Sandwiches are beautiful. You all know that one. Which I will be singing on Sunday afternoon, by the way, if you happen to pop down. But he wrote another song, which I've not done for a while. It's suddenly because you're talking about food, and Bob wrote the food song. So this is Bob King's classic, the food song. Well, I like cake and I like pie, cross my heart, hope to die. I like meat and I like taters too. Give me ice cream with chocolate sauce, I don't care how much it costs. I'm a man who likes all kinds of food. Give me some fried chicken and mashed potatoes, black-eyed peas and ripe tomatoes, big bowl of salad and a glass of wine. Corn on the cob with melted butter, chocolate cake made by my mother. You can bring on the main course anytime. Well, peaches and pears, plums and berries, apples and oranges, and I sure love cherries. For a loaf of homemade bread, I cheat and scheme. Give me ice cream with chocolate sauce, I don't care how much it costs. I'm a man who likes all kinds of food. Give me some fried chicken and mashed potatoes, black-eyed peas and ripe tomatoes, big bowl of salad and a glass of wine. Corn on the cob with melted butter, chocolate cake made by my mother. You can bring on the main course anytime. Yes, you can bring on the main course anytime.
Well, that's fantastic. Now,
I think you should talk to Bob about getting the rights for that.
there's lots of vegetables in there. I was mashed potatoes, taters, yeah, corn on the cob. That's fantastic.
I'll make a recording for you, Larry, and you can use it on occasion.
And that's the sign of a true professional. I asked you during the commercial break. You had your guitar, you got it out, and away you went. No,
see, that's the way it goes. After you've written or created or played as many songs as I have, if you give me like just a little bit of an inkling, I can find a song that will be absolutely the perfect song for it.
With no sheets of music, no words.
Just my nice little brain. My brain works nicely that way.
That's fantastic. So you're at the Winnipeg International Children's Festival tomorrow at 1:30. We're saying that. And Dauphin Country Fest at the end of June, right? June 27th?
First time playing there. I'm really excited about that. On the 27th, we've got a couple of shows.
And that's a monster festival up there. I've never been there, but I've heard about it.
Yeah. No, the festivals across the country this summer I'm really looking forward to playing Hillside in Guelph, which is a very highly respected festival. There's a batch of them, and it's really an opportunity for me to connect with so many of the performers who who I admire, and we have sort of a mutual admiration society going with people like Serena Ryder and Dan Mangan and Hawksley Workman, and the performers who are establishing their own their talent in their own right, but they grew up with the Fred Penner's Place world. So we have this really interesting exchange that happens.
Is there any point you're thinking of retiring down the road, or you just see continuing this for as long as you can?
No, the R word is not part of
Not part of it?
But no, it's changed a little bit. I'm liking the spectrum of requests that are coming to me, and what's happening now too is I'm creating time in the course of a year for true holiday. So after the middle of August, when I actually play up in Kelwood, just north of Nipawa, that area, playing there on the 15th weekend. And right after that, I'll be going to the West Coast for a holiday with my partner. We're going to head down to California, to the Vancouver Island, visit some friends. But it's 3 weeks of R&R, and then it's back to festivals in Ottawa and Lethbridge and Hamilton, and then again in December. Late December, I'll have another chunk of time, and then February, take a couple of weeks. So that's the benefit, is getting out there, touring, making enough resources that allow me to take a break when I need it.
Is it tempting when you're taking these vacations, just, I'll do a concert here on the way or during that week? Or
I do start to twitch, after a little while. The odd thing with a lot of performers is if you don't play for a while, I mean, if this is what you do, and if you are away from the gigging for even a couple of weeks, you start to doubt yourself whether you can ever do it again. It's the weirdest thing, because I know I can. I know I'm very capable of, in a moment's notice, as you have evidenced here. But it's a very odd sensation when you are away from it for a while. You think, oh, what songs am I going to do? How am I going to, you just start doubting. Odd.
Do you pull out the guitar around the campfire, or when you're not performing, or do you just take a break during those times?
I usually travel with the guitar.
Yeah.
I've got a little traveling axe, an Ibanez, 3/4 size thing that keeps my hands active, and I can practice some chords and just go into that.
Out of all the songs you've written and performed, what's your favorite? Just one.
Ooh. Well, the first one that pops to mind is a song called "She's a Baby." I wrote it at the Sportsman Hotel in Los Angeles many, many years ago. We were in probably the early '90s, and it came out in about an hour. I just sat down, and it's got this really fun chord progression. Quite a complex thing, very swing oriented, but it's a beautiful album. It's on the What a Day album. I wish you could play it. Or maybe you can download that and slip it in along the way. Yeah, but that's the first one that pops to mind. But I've written literally hundreds, perhaps thousands of songs if I added them all up.
We'll be right back with Fred Penner. Welcome back to Food and Friends. Please join me next Saturday when my guest will be Darren Dunn, CEO at Assiniboine Downs. Don't forget that this weekend, the Winnipeg International Children's Festival is on at the Forks. Boy, I'm stumbling. You can see Fred perform Sunday at 1:30. Fred Penner, this has been a lot of fun today.
Larry, it certainly has. Thank you very much for inviting me here again.
You'll be at
the festival has been going really well this week. We had an adult night on Friday.
Oh yeah.
And that was a blast. And Sunday afternoon will be fun, and then the closing ceremony, and it's done for another year. So bring your kids down, even without kids. Come on down. It's good for the soul.
And of course, you're up in Dauphin Country Fest, June 27th, for our listeners that are heading up there. Thank you so much, Fred, for being on Food and Friends.
Thanks, Larry.
Take care, everybody, and please don't forget to eat your veggies.